Where there is difficulty, there's opportunity. Where there's like tumultuous times, windows of opportunity open wide for you to jump through to create more income, impact, and lifestyle. And it doesn't take a genius to look back at 2020 and see one of the most tumultuous years in the history of our nation, while at the same time, one of the years of greatest opportunity for adjustment in your business to success. Well, guess what? This next year, this next 12 and a half months into 2021, we'll see one of the biggest and most significant opportunities in your business. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be talking about how you can jump through that window of opportunity, take advantage of some time-critical opportunities so that you can change the world. EdTalks Live is next. Hey, what's up, party people? My name's Ed Rush, 5-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern, and today we're talking about 2021, what I'm calling the year of the expert. Get ready to hear that a few more times from me today and also over the next few weeks. I'm going to unfold some things that I've taught, actually. Some of you who go back to the early days of EdTalks Live, you're going to remember some of the things that I'm sharing today. I'm going to show you how some of the things that I predicted back in June have already come true, and I'm going to show you what's going to happen in 2021. I've got a big lot planned for you over the next few weeks and certainly into January. So make sure you dial in, get ready for today's show. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to stick around for some questions. By the way, on the right-hand side right here on chat, you can jump in and say hello on YouTube. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. The chat just rolls right there. If you're on your phone, I'm not exactly sure where that shows up. You may want to get on a computer. If you're on Facebook, that's going to be right below you. So I'd love for you to jump in, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. I'm going to say hello to some of our friends in chat. Barry, good morning, sir. Good to see you. He was here early on today. Hello, Robert from I'm just looking out the window. I mean, the wind is blowing here. What's up, man? Good to see you, Jim. And welcome back to everybody who's just joined us. So jump in and tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. I'm actually going to get to the point as quickly as possible. I'm actually going to jump up onto the whiteboard, and we're going to get cranking today. And I'm going to show you some things that have changed, and I'm going to show you some things that are changing. Okay, now you have heard from both sides of this story. You've heard this phrase in the common parlance. Okay, and I'm going to start to try to make sense for what this means. You've heard people talk about a great reset. Now, a lot of the discussion of a great reset has come from people that in the marketplace would essentially be called globalists. The idea of resetting world economies and resetting nation states as a whole into something different. There's people who talk about world economies and those sort of things. I'm not going there today. What I'm going to talk about today is what I actually call the Great Acceleration. Okay? Now, the biggest difference between a reset and an acceleration, so for example, in the F-18, the airplane that I flew, we had a button that was just to the left of our thigh that would reset our flight control system. So for example, if you had some electrons that weren't running in the right direction and one of the systems began to shut off, we would hit a button that would completely reset the flight control system, and then it would make sure that the electrical system that goes to your flight control system is working properly. Well, a reset is designed to get things back to the way they were. Okay, so that term, reset, assumes that that something was already set, okay, and that you're resetting something. Okay, this is nothing like that. What's happened over the last year is a massive warp speed. I think that's maybe the wrong term based on all the stuff that's in the news. The term warp speed may mean something completely different. A massive acceleration speed, a massive afterburner of Mach 1 level speed into the future. There is no going back, okay? So what there was last year, I've been saying this for the last 8 months, there's no new normal. there's no going back to normal. There's no going back to the way things were. There is simply an acceleration into the future. Now, markets are changing and things are going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months that I'm going to be predicting on the show today. And as I do that, write them down because you're going to want to build your business around this concept of the great acceleration. Before I do that, I got to teaching really fast today, which I don't normally do. Normally, I spend a little bit of time saying hello to my friends in chat. So let me just say hello to some of you. Good to see you. Anise, how are you? Jim, what's going on, my friend? Ski, what's up, brother? Pennsylvania. I don't know what, I grew up in Philly. Ski, I don't know what's happening to your state right now. All right, good morning, Diana. Good to see you as well. What's up, Adam? Meditation, not medicine. I love it, man. Good logo too, by the way. All right, so if you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. We're talking about 2021, the year that I consider the year of the expert. I'm going to get into what that means in just a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to go backwards for just a moment. And I'm going to go backwards in history. We're actually going to go back 240 years. And I'm going to show you a pattern that is as predictable as though you could set your watch by it. Now, if you've been watching EdTalks all the way back since March, you heard me predict this all the way back in May when I started talking about 80-year cycles. I'm going to show you now how some of that has come to fruition. By the way, I'm going to stick around to take your questions today. I want to go deep into this area, and we're going to talk. When we talk about 2021, this isn't the last time. This is not the first time either. It's not the last time that I'm going to be talking about this particular topic. It's so important what's happening over the next 12 months for you and for your business. Now, let me just pause for a moment and just say that I know this year has been hard. And I know that it feels like it may even be getting harder. I mean, goodness gracious, like March, in March, we had this idea of like 2 weeks to slow the spread, and we're still walking around. I mean, I know that right now the world feels like it's a challenging place. Well, guess what? I have great news for you. It's going to get more challenging. I know that was a big set. You're like, wait a second, Ed, you said good news. It's going to get more challenging. It's going to get more challenging, okay? But for the right person in the right place in the right business, this means for you opportunity, okay? And if you're like a lot of my clients and students, you've been waiting for this moment, Have you ever just been like, man, I just need my chance. I just need my opportunity. Come on, coach, get me in the game. This is your chance. This is your opportunity. I mean, this is the time for you to shine. Some of the most influential millionaires and billionaires in the world were created during the Great Depression. During some of the most difficult financial times, those times were created. And now is your time to stand on the right side, on the correct side of the cash register. So I'm going to go back 240 years. Actually, let's go back to 1776. So in chat, tell me what was happening in come on now. If you're here in the United States, you know. I mean, there were a couple things that were happening in 1776, okay? And what Barry just said is absolutely right, which is reset equals default opportunity. All right, reset or accelerate. So back in 1776, right here in the United States, our leaders in Pennsylvania, of all places. What's up, dude? Good to see you, buddy. Our leaders in all, thank you, Grant. Our leaders in all of all the states were forming together in Pennsylvania to write one of the bravest pieces of paper in the history of communication. That piece of paper was called the Declaration of Independence. Now, today's show is not about the Declaration of Independence, but I highly recommend, not now, after the show's over, maybe, I highly recommend going back into, just Google it. You can pull it up. It's right there on Google. I recommend reading the words of the Declaration of Independence. And I want you to overlay those words on what's happening now. Okay. It speaks of tyrants who are overstepping the bounds of liberty. All right. Now, I'm just saying, when you read it, you'll be like, wait a second. Like right now. Okay. Now, 1776 kicks off, not only is it when we wrote our Declaration of Independence, but it's also when the first shots were fired in Lexington and the American Revolution started. The American Revolution went until 1781. It was a 5-year period of disruption. It was a 5-year period of uncertainty. It was a 5-year period of difficulty that created something new. By the time we got to the end of 1781, we had truly something extraordinary and new. We had a new nation of 13 states. We had the beginnings of a new constitution. We had massive opportunity in the United States that didn't exist before. For example, here in 1776, most people in the United States drank tea. In 1781, people were drinking coffee. So, if you were the kind of person who was importing coffee beans, and you were the kind of person who knew how to take those coffee beans and turn them into a delicious beverage, 1781 marked one of the greatest opportunities you've ever seen. So 5 years of difficulty, opening up the windows of opportunity for new industry and business and creating something better. Now, we're going to fast forward 80 years. In fact, we're going to fast forward 84 years to 1860. In chat right now, tell me what was happening in 1860. I'll give you a hint. This was the year that Abraham Lincoln was elected president. I want to say hello to some of my friends in chat. What's up, Grant? Good to see you, buddy. Wendy Lee, how are you? So great to see you as well. Thank you, Grant, for your comment there as well. I really appreciate that. By the way, for those of you who just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. We're talking about 2021, the year of the expert. I'm going to show you what's going to happen over the next year. We're going to put on the future goggles, and I'm going to show you what's going to happen. I'm going to show you not only what happened in the past, but what's going to happen into the future. This is very important, okay? Now, in 1860, what was happening here in the United States was the beginnings of the Civil War. Actually, Abraham Lincoln was elected. South Carolina almost immediately seceded from the nation. Civil War began, and it went until 1865. That's when General Ulysses S. Grant and General Lee met to sign the formal paid papers of surrender. And you'll notice that this Civil War period was a 5-year period of time of disruption, of tumult that created something better on the other side. That's exactly right. Civil War, the division of North-South. And Rob says, it's probably the last time the Bears won something. Do they even still have a football team? Look, I'm an Eagles fan, Rob, so I don't have any way to, speaking of coffee, thank you, Rock Creek. I don't have any ground to stand on with this conversation. The Eagles are, they're probably going to win the division again with like 3 wins, okay? So 5 years of difficulty, of tumult, of challenges to create something better. I mean, think about this for a second. Were we better off as a nation in 1860 or 1865? I mean, we went through one of the most bloody and difficult wars, one of the most challenging times in our period, but we're definitely better off as a country in 1865, especially when it comes to individual freedoms and the opportunity that was created out of this time of difficulty was massive, okay? So for example, in 1860, if you are a Mississippi landowner and you farm cotton, well, guess what? You're out of business by 1865. But in 1865, if you have a small mill that produces steel, man, you're about to become a very, very, very wealthy person because these 5 years of difficulty created opportunity. Okay? Now I want you to fast forward again. We're going to go ahead again 80 years. So we went ahead about 80 years here. We're going to go ahead about 80 years to 1940. Right in chat, tell me what was happening in the United States in 1940. By the way, I got some Eagles comments down there. I know. The quarterback, I'm not even going to go there. All right, so in 1940, what was happening worldwide was World War II. No surprise, 5-year period, 1945. 5 years of difficulty, massively resetting what was happening in the world at the time. Now, I don't have time to go into all of the details around this, but the massive change that occurred worldwide from 1940 to 1945 was phenomenal. I mean, in the 30s, one of the most common things to talk about in science was eugenics, the idea of selectively breeding and eliminating human beings to create master races. Well, guess what? By 1945, the world saw that might not be as good of an idea as we thought it was. I mean, go back and read scientific journals back in the 1930s. 5 years of difficulty, tumult that led to something better. I want you to think about this for a second. If in 1945, you're a person that builds single family homes, man, you're about to be rich. If you're the kind of person that builds malls and shopping centers, you're about to be a very rich and very influential person, because in this time created great opportunity. Now I want you to do this with me. Check it out. Ready? I want you to go forward 80 years. Boom. Look at that. I mean, this is crazy. If you look at this right here, you could have predicted 2020 like setting a clock. Now, you didn't know, I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen. It could have been war or famine or, who knows what it was, but we knew one way or another that in these 80-year cycles, all of a sudden something happens that's new. Okay, now, this is the crazy part. This is the part, by the way, where people go, Ed, I don't want any more bad news, brother. I got I got enough bad news, but listen, I'm going to give it to you. And here's why. Because in 2025, you and I are sitting down having a cup of coffee in 2025. And if I was to say, hey, I already knew what the last 5 years are going to be like, and you would have looked at me in 2025 and said, why didn't you tell me? And I said, well, remember you said to me all you wanted to hear was the good news, okay? So I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, and then I'm going to tell you, by the way, there's massive good news on the other end of this, okay? So I'm going to tell you this part. Check it out, 5 years. Did you see that right there? Okay, 5 years. 5 years. You're like, please, I thought it was 2 weeks to slow the spread. I'm not saying that the Rona is going to be around for 5 years, okay? But I'm going to show you in 3 core areas where the entire world is beginning to change, and then I'm going to bullseye into one key area that's going to make a huge difference for you and your business when you take advantage of it, okay? Because in each of these times, millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires were created who were willing to step into a new place of authority, okay? For example, 1776 to 1781 made heroes that we still talk about. I mean, these were like 25, 30-year-old kids who became founding fathers of our United States of America. I mean, some of the greatest thinkers in the world, people like Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, and John Adams, and George Washington, people who knew how to create something new. In 1860 to 1865, new heroes were created, new people to bring us into new places of leadership. In 1940 to 1945, people didn't even know who Eisenhower or Truman were, and all of a sudden now you've got these national heroes. Churchill was a joke before 1940. They used to laugh at him in Parliament. Next thing you know, he's one of the world's most influential people. Well, guess what? We're in 2020. We're moving into 2021, and now is the time, in my opinion, of greatest opportunity. You're going to wait. You would have to wait another 80 years. You'd have to wait to 2100 to see the kind of opportunity that's opening up right now. And we're going to have to go through the turmoil. I'm going to explain what that means in just a second, and then I'm going to show you how to take advantage of it, okay? So before I do that, let me just say welcome to those of you who just joined us. My name's Ed Rush. This is 2021, the year of the expert. Actually, we're talking about the next 5 years, but I'm going to show you what I mean by the year of the expert, okay? So the first thing I just showed you was these 80-year cycles in what I call the Great Acceleration. The interesting thing about, the term that I started with, people use the term Great Reset, but a reset is like going back to something. An acceleration is moving forward to something. So for example, let me just give you a small example of what I mean in terms of an acceleration. Yesterday, I did a live stream for almost, it was 380 financial advisors for a huge company, a subsidiary of Transamerica. When I was talking to them, one of the things I was saying is, like, if you're in the office space business right now, like if you're in the office space business in 2020, well, you better get out, okay? Because that business that's not a viable business model anymore. I mean, there will still be office space being offered and sold, but like not maybe at 25% of what it was in 2019. And they all started nodding their heads because all these financial advisors used to have these really nice offices in these really tall buildings where people would come in and sit down at mahogany desks, and now they're doing all their discussion on Zoom. They don't even go to work anymore, and so they're all canceling their office spaces and leases, okay? So here's what I mean about acceleration. What I was just describing with office space, that was happening already, and it was going to happen, okay? So it was going to take maybe 10 to 15 years for the market to slowly transition out of office space into telecommuting, working at home, and using Zoom. Well, guess what? Rona just sped that up. Now it only took about 8 months for everybody to work at home, okay? So the acceleration is creating the kind of change that was already going to happen, but making it happen a lot faster, okay? So the first thing is the 80-year cycles, and it's very important for you to understand that, because when you understand that, there's a couple things that happen. First of all, you do get to the point where you're like, okay, all right, I got it. So it might still be hard. And I'm only saying this because here's what I don't want you to think. I don't want you to think, gosh, finally, when Joe Biden becomes president, everything's gonna be amazing, okay? I know that's how it was sold to you. And on the alternate side, I don't want you to think, gosh, if Donald Trump just can stay president and get a second term, everything will be amazing. Well, guess what? It's not gonna be amazing, okay? It's gonna be challenging. And I want you to be able to see that and to be able to kind of embrace that for just a moment. Because what happens when you can see it, like if you could go back to 1940, okay, and know what was going to happen over the next 5 years, man, you could just create some amazing things. Well, I want you to be able to embrace it enough to be like, all right, Ed, guess what? Game time now, okay? And now's the time to make a big change. All right, so thank you, Mariana. I appreciate what you just said. Yes, I like it. Man, if I could turn the camera around, Diana, you would see all my raised beds that I've made for my wife. Oh, man. I certainly hope we can make a major change to food over the next 5 years. By the way, if you just joined me, my name is Ed Rush. This is 2021 Year of the Expert. I'm going to show you what's happening, what just happened. I'm going to show you what's going to happen next. And by the way, I just went through and showed you what's happened over the last 240 years. And then I said, I'm going to give you a little bad news, okay? But I'm going to give you the good news right afterwards. So let me just give you the bad news first, okay? And I'm just going to lay it out for you. And look, first of all, these are predictions. I'm happy to be wrong about all three of the things that I'm talking about right now. I'm probably not, okay? And let me just tell you, based on my track record over the last year, it's a really good track record, okay? So the things I'm teaching right now, if you go back to the shows back in March, it's the same stuff, all right? I was telling people what was going to happen. So if you want to go back on the past, you can show that the things I'm going to talk about almost definitely will come true. Now, when they come to pass, whether it's 5 months from now or 10 months from now, that's to be determined. But there's three main things that I want you to think about as we're going into this next year, and then you can begin to make some plans around them. Okay, so now the first thing. Remember I said this is bad news, but there's good news at the end of it. So I know sometimes we're like, gosh, man, I can't do bad news. Yeah, you can if there's an opportunity on the other side. It's just like right now, when you go to CNN or Fox News, it's just bad news, okay? So let's talk about the first one, the economy. Now, I don't have time to go into the details of the U.S. economy, okay? What I can tell you is that the stock market, this cracks me up. So the stock market just crushed through 30,000 at an all-time high. Okay, and everyone's like, look at that, man, the stock market is doing great, okay? That would be like stuffing a man full of straw. Getting a post and filling up a shirt full of straw, not even a man, just making a straw man. And then standing back and going, look at this amazing human being that we created, okay? This is my way of simply telling you that the stock market is built at this moment on a house of sand. If you want the data behind this, look at consumer credit, which is at an all-time high, business credit, which is at an all-time, business lending or loans, which is at an all-time high, and mortgage defaults, which are nearing an all-time high, okay? If you want to look at the metrics, if you really want to get into it, you can track what are called price to earnings, which is another way to say how overvalued is the stock market on what it is. Now, this has been, okay, and again, I don't have a long time to do this, but we could do a longer version of this. This has been the result of over manipulation, okay? What I mean by over manipulation is several times during the year, Congress has essentially printed money and put it into circulation, or in certain cases, they printed money and bought real goods with them. Over the last year, they've printed 40% more of our money supply, okay? By doing that, they devalue the United States dollar and prop up equity exchanges, which is the stock market, okay? So what happened is the value of the dollar went down. Inflation typically will go up. It hasn't started yet because it trails, okay? But essentially what they did is they taxed your money without taxing you, okay? And I don't have time to go through this, but if they, let's say, just as an example, let's say you have $100 in savings, okay? And they print 10% more money. Well, your $100 just became worth $90 out on the open market. They taxed you without you knowing it, okay? Or without you voting for it, or without you agreeing to it, and in certain cases, without even someone you voted for actually doing it, okay? So now, the first thing I'll tell you is that the economy, so Main Street, as you know, the restaurants are closing, right? There's a lot of companies that are closing. The top 5 wealthiest individuals in the United States have grown their net worth by over $1 trillion. I don't know if you caught that or not, but that should be significant for you. So what you can see is that the decisions that your lawmakers have been making on both sides, okay? I'm not talking about just the Republicans or just the evil Democrats, the evil Republicans. I'm talking about everybody. The decisions that your lawmakers have made were temporary band-aids to try to solve a problem in the near term during their election cycle, okay, that created massive long-term challenges into the future. At some point, we pay the piper for this, okay? And what I'm telling you right now is that at some point over the next 4 years, 4.5 years, this 5-year cycle, most likely in 2021, we're going to see a massive correction to this, okay? And simultaneously, a massive correction to the housing markets and the student loan markets, right? So those 3 things, the equity markets, the housing market, and the student loan market, all of which are in what would be called excessive bubble state. Now, you're like, Ed, you're not supposed to tell me the bad news. What I can tell you, if I can tell you this now, then you can start to look at the world that we're in right now, and you can start to make some good decisions regarding the money that you have, okay? So the second piece of, okay, I'll call it bad news again, is the almost near 100% definite. Let me just put it to you this way. Without any partisan spin at all, assuming that Joe Biden becomes the president on January 20th, on Inauguration Day. And I know some of you are like, wait a second, why did he just say assuming? Let me just tell you, if you're watching the mainstream news, you're missing a lot of what's happening right now in the states, okay? There are, just look at Michigan and Pennsylvania and Arizona, okay? And the hearings that are happening at the state legislatures. It's not being broadcast on any of the mainstream news, so you're going to have to go find it someplace else, okay? But it's not over. Let me just put it to you that way, okay? And I know for some people that like, people get banned off of YouTube for saying what I just said. like I didn't even say like who, like you should root for. All I'm saying is it's not over. Now, let me just pause for a moment and just say this. If you're a Democrat, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, by the way, so most of you know that. If you are a Democrat, the thing you should want the most is to, with scrutinizing care, make sure that every vote that was cast in every state was a actual valid and legal vote. Okay, you want that. You want that because it's best for your candidate, right? I mean, it's best for your candidate if everything's looked at and people go, well, here are the votes. Like, look at that, he won. That's best for you, okay? Because the last thing you want is 4 years of a contested candidate without a mandate, okay? And by the way, it's best for the country as well. If you're a Republican, you want that as well. It flummoxes me why somebody would not be interested in finding out, is that actually a real person that voted, or is that a person that died 20 years ago? Like, as a person who cares about our country, that's really important. We spend a lot of time as a country helping other countries with their elections, like helping them police fair and free elections. We should be a pretty good example of that. And don't read any partisanship into that. I'm just telling you that full, free, fair elections are very important. And if somebody voted, their vote should count. And if somebody voted 7 times, 6 of those votes shouldn't count, right? And I think you can agree with that. Now, assuming that Biden becomes president-elect, you can almost guarantee that right around January 21st, which is the day after he goes into office, there will be some sort of national lockdown followed by some sort of national mask mandate, okay? Following right behind that, there will be some sort of massive debate in our country over the idea of forcing vaccinations. I do not have time today to go down that road. What I will simply tell you is we have a country where people do believe in their own personal freedoms, and they're not thrilled about the idea of someone telling them what to put into their body, okay? And that's about as far as I'll go with that before I get banned on YouTube, okay? Now, those 2 things will be significant for your business because they will be, I believe, should they come to pass, the final door that closes on the old version of the information economy and the door opening on the new version of the information economy. So remember I said you're coming into a place where you've got opportunity. Okay, the third thing is the Rona. And remember I said I'm going to give you a couple little pieces of bad news, but I'm going to give you the good news on the other side of it. Okay, this guy's not going away anytime soon. Or at the very least, the talk of it isn't going away. If you look at the cable news networks, CNN's almost bankrupt. In fact, they're probably under. And the rest of the news networks are almost all following suit. Congratulations, good job to all of you and me who stopped watching them. And I'm talking about Fox News, everybody across the board, okay? So their entire livelihood right now is being buttressed on the fact that they can still deliver bad news to you. So Rona's not going away because it helps them, okay? So I don't care what's happening in California or Pennsylvania or Texas or whatever. All of the discussion of it is being highly inflated and inflamed, as you know, because this helps with ratings. Additionally, whatever warp speed vaccine that may or may come, efficacy numbers are not what they are, what they look like. There's someplace between 70 and 90% between Pfizer and Moderna, okay, which aren't very good. And stage 3 trials are going to require a saline placebo, which is completely different than normal vaccine trials. So what I'm simply telling you is don't expect 2 weeks to slow the spread business, okay? Just expect the talk of this to continue to be around. All right, now, I delivered the bad news. All right, I'm sorry. I'm just going to tell it to you the way that it is. Now I'm going to tell you the good news, okay? I'm going to tell you what to do about it. Before I do that, Brian, my man, let's look at how much money the U.S. government has pumped into the economy in the form of COVID relief. That's part of the printing. So, and then some of it's not even printed. Some of it is just leveraged by loans, which, so when you loan, you're loaning something that oftentimes doesn't exist or only has a small reserve requirement, so you can multiply that value of the money as well. Thank you for your awesome comments. You guys are the best. Yes, or mandating it for people who travel on airplanes, or mandating it for people who go to Ticketmaster. Let me just tell you, right now it's something between 51 to 58% of America said that they would take that they wouldn't, or the other way. 49 to 50% of America said they wouldn't take it if they were forced to take it. So, and by the way, you and I can debate the science on this because it's debatable science, okay? I have a new rule, by the way. If somebody says the science on this is settled, it's not. All right, so I have a whole list of 2020 rules that I'm going to come out with in the next couple weeks. You better be on my email list because I'm going to come out. I have a list of 11 things I've learned in 2021. And one of those is, let me find it. There's the website. I'm going to get my head out of the way. Go to edrush.com and put your name and email in, because I'm going to send out a list of my things I've learned in 2020. Like, for example, independent fact checker is an oxymoron. That's one of the things I learned in 2020. All right. So I gave you the bad news. I'm going to give you the good news. All right. So with oh, that's funny. That's funny. All right. So I gave you the bad news. And I'm going to give you the good news. Okay. So we already know that all of the things that are happening in the world today. Okay. Here's the good news. Write this down. And you've heard me say this before if you've been following me. In times of certainty, people get complacent. But in times of uncertainty, people invest in certainty. Did you catch that? In times of uncertainty, or in times of certainty, people get complacent. But in times of uncertainty, people invest in certainty. So if you are an author, now's the time to write your next book. Get that baby out. Okay, I'm talking about out. I'm going to start working on mine really soon. Okay, if you're a consultant, oh man, if you're a consultant or a coach or advisor, man, you spit a big smile on your face. Let me tell you, it is hard sometimes as a consultant to get people's attention. And then once you get their attention, it's hard for you to get them to take action, to actually step up and to say, yes, not now. Not now. Let me tell you what, the interest in consulting, business or otherwise, has significantly gone up. Why? That's because people want answers. That's because people want certainty. They want you to come in and go, you know what? Let me take care of this. I'm going to take care of this for you. So if you're a consultant or an advisor, man, let me tell you, the next 4 years, you should double at the very least or quadruple what you're doing right now. I will tell you, my consulting, I've about doubled this year from what I did last year. Okay? Now, here's something interesting. By the way, if you're a consultant, this is really interesting. So right now I charge in the 25 to 70 range for my one-on-one, 70K for my one-on-one work. I've got other packages that are in a different range. But this is generally where I'm at, okay? I've seen interest go up. I've also seen signups go up. I've seen people sign up faster this year, okay? So a lot of those things happen. But what was interesting, what I found was less people. I used to have about 50% of the people who sign up with me for consulting, roughly 50% do a single payment plan, and about 50% do some sort of a payment plan option, 7 pay, 8 pay, 10 pay, something like that, okay? This year, this number, the single pay, went down to about 10%. You know the interesting thing about it? I've been on the phone with people who have $4 million businesses and massive asset equity packages. They still do a payment plan. You know why? Uncertainty. Remember what I said about the economy? Wealthy people can see, oh man, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the economy. So they end up doing a payment plan because they're not sure what they're going to have in terms of assets. Okay? So if you're a consultant, you may need to adjust the way that you do your payments. You also may need to adjust how your sales cycle goes. So it used to take me an event to get someone to sign up for coaching. Now it takes me like 2 or 3 Zoom calls with them. So the process has changed and the sales process has gotten more engaged. Okay, but I end up with a really good client out of this. Okay, if you're a thought leader, shoot. Now's the time where people are interested in you. I'm telling you, people are interested right now in knowing what's up. People want things that are positive. People want to hear what your thoughts are about the world or business or the economy or how to set up their home studio. People are interested right now, okay? And they're awake and they're aware. And I already told you this, but if you missed 2 shows ago, I already told you this. January, I'm talking like January, first week in January. I mean, I think the first 4, 5, 6, like the first week is like Monday's the 4th, Tuesday's the 5th, Wednesday's the 6th. By the way, put that date on your calendar. Put January 6th. I'm going to tell you why in a second. I'm going to tell you something that I wasn't planning on talking about today, but I was going to do it anyway. Put January 6th on your calendar. That's a Wednesday. We're going to dial it in together that day. Okay? Now, this first week in January, whoo, man. If you're in the business world, if you're in the writing world, if you're in the thought leading world, if you've got, like, for example, Roy Red, who I've been watching, has a show that he does, like a live stream show, just like the one that I've got here. If you're in that business right now, this first week in January, man, I'm telling you, the whole world's going to wake up. By the way, over the last month and a half, I have a lot of clients, and I have a lot of people. I've run two different product launches over the last month. I've got people that I work with all across the world. I've helped with several virtual summits. I've been a trainer in all of them. Just about everyone's response rates, and I'm talking like across the board, have gone down over the last 6 weeks about 50%. Woo, man, that's a lot. Okay, so what this means is if you used to get 400 people on your Zoom meetings, now you got 200. If you used to get 100 people, now you got 50. If you used to get 50, now you got 25. If you used to get 100 people open your emails, now it's 50. And you're like, wait a second, Ed, I thought you said this was good news. It is good news because what's happened over the last month and a half is the entire country has been in some state of shock, anger, hypnotism, okay? Something like that. And what's going to happen is people are going to go into the holidays, they're going to eat their turkey, okay? Celebrate Christmas, and right around the first week in January, this is the whole world. Ready for this? Whew. You ever seen somebody get knocked out? Like I'm talking like, have you ever actually seen a person get knocked out? I don't like to talk about this. I mean, like there was a time when I was in the Marines and single, okay? If you ever have seen, you know how like in the movies, they're like, fights are never like that, okay? If somebody gets knocked out, so what happens when somebody gets knocked out is in the moment that so somebody gets knocked out, they hit the ground, and they're out, okay? And then what happens over the next like 10 seconds is the brain and body are like rebooting. But the problem is like the brain doesn't know if it's still in a fight, you know? And so what happens is you'll see these people on the ground who've been knocked out, and like the first thing they'll do is like they're on the ground, they're like, they're like punching in the air, okay? Because their brain and body are like literally rebooting. Well, guess what? This week, January, the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks of January, first month, let me just put it this way. A whole first month of January is like the whole country is going to come out of their own reboot, all right? So if you're in business, like if you've been thinking about launching a show, do it. If you've been thinking about building your social media, maybe doing some live streaming or Instagram lives, which is a great idea, by the way, this is the time to do it, right? The first month is yours. The 6th, by the way, what I'm going to do on the 6th, I'm going to show you this in a second. I just decided, I'm like, we're together as a community, we're going to dial this in. So on the 6th, I'm doing a day-long Zoom training called the 2021 Accelerator, okay? And I'm going to cover 6 main areas that I think are key areas in 2021. We're going to do it together on Zoom, just like we're doing right now. And you're going to leave with a business plan for 2021. It's going to be very powerful. Okay, and I got a coupon code for you and everything, just because you're on the show. All right, so this is what's going to happen in January. So if you're a thought leader, man, you know, right now, I know you may be looking at your Instagram or your LinkedIn, you're like, why is nobody paying attention to my stuff? That's because they're in this mode right now where they're all watching the news or the votes counting, or they're like, man, I can't believe these Republicans, or like, man, I can't believe these Democrats, or whatever is going on in their mind. But in January, everyone's going to wake up and realize we're back in the real world again, okay? And it's time to get it on. All right, so, man, I just don't have time for this. Let me do the short version of this. 2020 was the year information changed massively, okay? Quick, oh man, I need more time to do that. I'm gonna do the quick version. In the 1960s, people got their information from a guy named Walter Cronkite. If you wanted to know what was true in the world, you spoke to Walter, okay? You know what, this is a good question, Robert. Maybe what we should do is have a little pre-session in a couple weeks and get started down the road to some of this stuff and then kick it off in January. That's actually a really good question. All right, so speaking of knocking people out, all right, so in the 1960s, people got their information. By the way, if you just joined me, and a whole bunch of you just did, my name's Ed Rush. This is 2021, the year of the expert. Today, we're talking about what happened, what's going to happen, okay? And I gave some predictions for 2021. You're going to hear some more from me as well. By the way, if you're not on my email list, I have an email coming out tomorrow that encompasses some of the things that I'm teaching in more detail. So edrush.com is the website. Boom, there it is. I'm moving my head because of that logo that's sitting right up there. If you're not on there, and by the way, if you haven't subscribed, I never ask this, and I'm supposed to, because if you have a YouTube show, you're supposed to ask people to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, there's a button down here that says subscribe. Hit that button. There's a bell next to it. Hit that. What happens is I don't send out emails for these shows all that often, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, but that gives you a notification when I go live, okay, which is important to you. So, and sometimes I just throw a little something in there for you, or pop one in there, okay? So hit the subscribe and hit the bell button, and that's all I'll say about that. 1960s, you got your information from Walter Cronkite. In the 80s, that's split into 3 agencies: NBC, ABC, CBS, the nightly news. I remember sitting in the 80s with my parents watching Peter Jennings on ABC on the nightly news. Hello, I'm Peter Jennings, and welcome. Okay, and now you know, if you want to know what's happening in the world, maybe you're going to hear from Peter Jennings. Well, in the 90s and the 2000s, cable news showed up. All of a sudden, the world began to become more polarized. In 2020, something awesome happened, okay? Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Confetti everywhere, okay? In 2020 was the beginning of the end and the middle of the end in the same year of news. Written news, radio news, newspaper news, news TV. 2020 was the year, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, by the way. 2020 was the year where you're like, I think they're full of crap. Okay, I'm telling you, the whole country over the last 8 months just came to the realization that they are full of crap. And now people only go to those news agencies to make fun of them. I'm not even kidding you, okay? News, boom. Now, what happened in 2020? This is fascinating. Fascinating. And again, I may just do a whole show on this concept because this is fascinating. What happened in 2020, I can guarantee this happened to you, is that people started to look at people to help them filter their news, okay? So I have probably 5 or 6 different thought leaders in different areas, economy, politics, influence, that I would read on a consistent basis to see, I wonder what they're thinking about this, okay? And I guarantee you do the same thing. I bet you have somebody on Twitter or on Instagram or somebody who delivers their thoughts on what's happening. The news destroyed themselves. I mean, I'm talking about you want to talk about self-immolating? The news destroyed themselves and people started going to people. Oh man, is this good for you? Whew. I mean, the idea, so here's the thing. This is so great. So it used to be, if you wanted to be influential thought leader, you had to develop these email lists of 10 to 100,000 people. Now, this is crazy. Now, you know what you need? You need 20 people. You need 20 evangelists. I mean, right here on this show combined with my email list, combined with my customers, I've got tens of thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of followers. I have about 200 people in this inner circle, this core community of people, okay? And this is very powerful. This group of people, by the way, y'all are part of this group. I'm part of this group too. This is a very, very powerful group. I sounded like a drunk person when I did a very, very powerful group. Very, very powerful. This is a very, very powerful group. Now, this is on purpose. About 2 years ago, I changed my marketing philosophy. Here's what my marketing philosophy used to be like this. Wide. Whoosh. Go wide. In other words, influence as many people as you can. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. This is when I was building up like big Instagram and stuff like that, okay? 2 years ago, I changed my philosophy to this. Deep. You see how narrow this is? This is a small group. Okay, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to deeply connect personally and influence a small group of people who can therefore go out and influence their small group of people, who can then go out and influence their small group of people. Because if I can be influential and helpful in the lives of 200 people who I know, right? Some of you send me emails. So some of you watch the show. You send an email to me. By the way, my email is coaching@edrush.com. So that I give out my email, okay? This is why. I never used to do this. Never used to do this. So I give my email address out, okay? and people email them, hey, here's what I think about what you said on the show. Then I email back. And then we start talking over email. Every once in a while, I jump on the phone, and I don't do this all the time, right? But every once in a while, some of you have experienced this. Some of you are like, gosh, I can't believe it. Like I was talking to Ed, and then we jump on the phone and we talk a little bit, or we're talking over email or social media, and you feel like you know me. You know why? Because you do. And I feel like I know you. You know why? Because I do. And all of a sudden, I realize if you go deep, you're willing to invest your personal time and attention into a small group of people who can then go out and become influential. You can change the world. The idea of having millions and hundreds of thousands of people is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But why go wide when you can go deep and have a deeper influence on the lives of a smaller group of people who can therefore and then go out and completely change the world? That was a massive, massive change for me. Okay? So 2021 is the year to be specific. Here's what I mean about this. If you are a social media expert, you are now an Instagram growth expert. You see the difference? It's like specific. If you helped people grow their platforms, now you help people add 1,000 new followers a month on Instagram. And those are just examples, but what I'm getting at is the specificity which you need to bring to your marketplace, okay? Woo! All right, now, I've got a whole list of stuff. Here's the plan. 2021. This is your business plan, okay? All sweaty and everything. I'm serious today. All right, your plan is mind control. First thing you have to do in 2021 is control your mind. There's a lot of inputs right now, and it could get you discouraged and depressed, okay? And you can't have that happen to you. You need to think well. And to think well, you need to be clear. So mind control is important. Marketing. Marketing comes down to two main things, which is lead generation and customer conversion. We'll talk a little bit more about this. Time mastery. You can't waste time anymore. This next year, you can't, okay? You have to be hyper-focused. You have to get things done, okay? Persuasion, communication, the way that you communicate with the world is beginning to change again. You're going to need to be up on that, okay? Live stream. It may be as robust as what I'm doing right now. It may be as simple as you every once in a while doing an Instagram story, okay? And I mean, it could be literally as simple as that. This includes building a studio, okay? So look, the days are over. You used to be able to get away with being on Zoom with the camera on your thing. That's not happening anymore, okay? So you need to have something. It doesn't need to be a lot of money. You can do it for as little as $200, okay? But you do need to have some kind of studio that represents you well. And then the last one is social media. How to strategically use social media. If you want to know the truth, I'm trying to get away from paying Facebook. And I pay for ads on both of those platforms. I don't agree with the ethic of that company anymore. So if anybody can think of a good solution for me, that would be great. All right, here's what I'm going to do really quickly. This is like super quick. I'm going to give you the website, and then I'm going to sit down. I'm going to tell you what's coming up, okay? It's Ed Rush. I don't know why I keep putting the www, because like you know where it is, okay? It's edrush.com. I wasn't planning on doing this today. /2021. Here's the deal. Wednesday, January 6th, I'm doing a one-day training. It's going to be at least 5 hours. And by the time you leave, you're going to have a business plan for 2021. Okay? Robert, since you asked, what we'll do is sometime before Christmas, we'll all get on and we'll do a fast start session. Okay? We'll get going with some of this stuff. Now, here's what I'm going to do. It's $297. Look, I wanted to make this an affordable. This is a great deal. $297. If you've ever been to some of my trainings, they're up to like $2,000. The price is $297, but what I'm going to do for you, I just decided, what the heck? For today, let's have some fun. So I'm going to take off $100 and make it $197, which is a total no-brainer. This is the deal I'm giving you on this show right now today. And the coupon code should be easy to remember. The coupon code is 2021. Okay? And that gets you access to that one-day training, and then you get the other, pre-training as well, which Robert talked me into doing. All right, let me do this really quickly. I'm going to show this to you. I'm going to show you where to put the coupon code because it's not super easy to see. So this is the page. I mean, like we just put this up. I just decided we're going to get serious about 2021. My team and I built this yesterday. So get ready to dominate 2021. Join me for a live one-day training. And it starts at 11 Pacific. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. See this part that says have a promo code? It's kind of small. So here's what you need to do. Click that button, type in 2021, which is like the easiest coupon code to remember, and it changes it to 197. Like, are you kidding me? Best deal ever. All right, the website is edrush.com/2021. Yes, the date, here, hang on, let me pull this off. The date is, I'm gonna answer your question. I'm gonna stick around a little bit, okay? So normally I wrap up the show right on the hour. I'm just gonna stick around for just a little bit, answer any questions or comments you might have. Look, I just did like fire hose, and for real, like, I have my notes. Sometimes I have my notes in right here. Sometimes I don't have notes for the show because I already know what I'm going to be teaching. I got through about half. Sometimes I get going to sometimes I get into a soliloquy, you see. So that's what I did today. So we'll go a little bit deeper on some of this stuff as we go. Let's see. Joan, don't forget Joan Jett is the opener. So here's what we'll do, Robert. Right before the week before Christmas, we'll do a fast start session for the fast start. The 2021 accelerator is the fast start, but we'll do a little session for those of you who get in now. Okay, I'm not going to make that promise for everybody. This is good. That's a good point. Traffic geyser to a smaller silo of people. Yeah, amen on going deep. I'm telling you, man. When I made that decision, it made a big difference. It made a big difference. I mean, I started following my people on social media, comment. I don't barely ever do social media. Started commenting on their posts. I'd see them at an event. I'd ask them about their dog. I mean, little things like that make a really, really big deal. And you have to stop thinking about millions because the millions are going to come. You know, don't worry about that. But if you're willing to put in the individual effort right now to be able to connect with your market the way that you really, really can, it's going to pay off in dividends. We do have a great family now, don't we? I don't even think the website Traffic Geyser. I was talking to one of my former clients who bought the website, for crying out loud. She's in, ladies and gentlemen. All right, cool. I love it. Elon Musk started with an avatar and a high-priced car. Leverage that to everything else he's up to. Question, I have a live streaming company. Who is my avatar? Little bit of a deeper question. Wow, that's really great. A little bit of a deeper question there, local business coach, which we should do. I'm going to do a show on live streaming. We should do that. But the bottom line is I would start with people, for example, authors who've written books or thought leaders is a really good place to start. Cool. Let me do this really quickly. I'm just going to jump in and I know some of you already enrolled. There it is. All right, cool. So the website is edrush.com. Oh, you know what? I built one of these. Check it out. There we go. edrush.com/2021 and code 2021, which sounds like some sort of NSA code or something like that. That's another good way to get my show banned. Just mention the NSA. I mean, I said like 5 things today that could just, sorry. So if you get an email from me and I'm over on like Rumble or something like that, it's because of what I said today about the NSA on the show. So that's the code for that. Now, let's do a quick summary and then we'll begin to wrap it up. So, and if you have any other questions, you're welcome to put that in there into chat. So the first thing I talked about today is the concept of the Great Reset is flawed. The Great Acceleration is what we're seeing right now. I went through 80-year cycles of history, 1776, 1860, 1940, 2020, and how those led to 5 years of difficulty and turmoil and then a really beautiful period afterwards. And if you're willing to embrace a little bit of the discomfort of not knowing what's going to happen in the world, you can create great opportunity. I kind of leverage that conversation into a discussion of the bad news that's coming, and then leverage that into showing you why the bad news is good news if you're willing to take advantage of it in a good and ethical way to be able to help people, okay? That involves you getting your content and your ideas out there, becoming a thought leader in the way that you want to, potentially just live streaming, even little things like you talking to your Instagram people out of your studio, okay? Then we talked up on the board about areas like going deep into your market, means of communication. I'm recommending right now, for example, choosing one social media platform. And again, if you're not on my list, every week I send this weekly flight brief out, which will blow your mind. but you're missing it. If you're not on my email list, you got to get on there. So edrush.com is the place to do that, okay? And then I said put January 6th on your calendar because we're going to do a fast start session. It's edrush.com/2021, and code 2021 is that one right there. Okay, so that's it for today. Anita, what's up? Hey, Vince, good to see you, buddy. On target as a pilot should be. Good, thanks, Gary. I'm looking forward to having you in the trading as well. And for those of you who know me, that's a really good price. That's as low as anything I offer, okay? I just told my team yesterday, I said, I'm going to make it low because somebody's got $1 million or somebody's got $200. I want it to be that you can get in. Thanks, Ski. Good to have you in as well. All right, so we're going to wrap up today. Bart Christian comes out of nowhere. What's up, dude? Bart and I are on a coaching session here in just a couple hours, dude. I can start a little early if you want me to as well. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with all of you. So we've got some great stuff planned. Next week, we're going to go on a deeper discussion of the 6 things I just wrote up on the board and why those are so important. And then next Thursday, I've got a longtime friend of mine, about a 10-year friend, big speaker. Dude's got hundreds of thousands of people that follow him online. He's a cryptocurrency expert. And it's going to be important for you over the next 5 years to get an understanding of alternative currencies. I'm not going to make like investing recommendations or anything like that, or maybe he will. But on next Thursday, we're going to go talk about this topic that you're at the very least going to want to have a basic understanding of. We're going to talk about all things crypto. That's next Thursday. So again, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, click that there. Click the little bell. That'll give you notifications of the show. All right, don't forget, I love you and I like you. And we're going to have an amazing 4 years together. It's going to be good. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging, but it's going to be a blast, okay? And you're going to look back 20 years from now. You're going to look back at this challenging time with a big smile on your face, and you're going to tell your kids and your grandkids the story of 2020 to 2025. All right, so get ready to strap it on. We're going to have a good, amazing, that's a fighter pilot term, by the way. Don't be weird about that. That just means strap it on your airplane, okay? Yeah, no, I know. So Brian, I think I'm going to kick that off right in the first week in January too. Thank you for asking about that. I know I've been kind of talking about that, but not doing it. Hey, what's up? Everybody saying hello to everybody. I don't know, Anita. Probably the 3rd week in December. I'll let you know. I'll put it up on the page there sometime soon. All right. So that's it for today's show. I had a blast. I hope you did. We went a little long, but it was kind of worth it. I'll see you on Tuesday at 10 o'clock Pacific for our next EdTalks Live, and EdTalks Live is out.